You're listening to the Soju Sessions, episode 51 on the Soju Talk Nation podcast feed. I'm your host, Crispy, also known as Crispy Wonton or simply just Anton. And on today's episode, FangdBard joins the show to discuss Dreamcatcher and also to get his origin story with Kpop, with Soju Talk. And honestly, this is the first time I really got to, get to know him. Between the server and kind of just seeing where he frequents as far as the different channels. Really didn't know much about him prior to this conversation. So, he takes it into a number of directions that uncover quite a bit of interesting backstory of who he is. He talks about kind of his past as just a general fan of all things nerdy. His professional career. We have something in common that I think we kind of go a little deeper on as far as the academic side of, where we got to in life. And it was just a really enjoyable conversation on a number of things. And I hope you all enjoy it. Of course, we had to tie in Dreamcatcher and Dungeons and Dragons. That's all I'll say. All right, coming up, my chat with FangdBard on the SojuSessions. Joining SojuSessions, a member of the Gochu gang. He's somewhat of a mysterious character. I don't really know too much about him, but I do see him voting every week for the Spice King Soju chart. The one and only FangdBard. Welcome to the show, sir.
Oh, thanks for inviting me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, no, it's great to hear from you because I think you are a bit more mysterious on the server. You say things here and there. You've got a couple messages in response to Kpop, but nothing too extensive from my digging and searching. So it's going to be a very illuminating experience getting to know your story and who you are as a person, because I think it's valuable, incredibly valuable that we connect with brand new people, especially like yourself. I can already tell you've got a lot of cool things about you that we'd all like to learn about. Let's start with your K-pop origin story. So where did it all begin? How did you get into it? And what were your first memories of K-pop?
All right. Well, my start came in about the year 2014, I believe. It was my freshman year of college, and I was watching Twitch, and I happened to be watching a certain streamer, and their sub notification was likey by twice. So I ended up I kept hearing that over and over again. I'm like, okay, let me just search this up. And the streamer had mentioned it, and so I looked it up, and then that was like the beginning of the rabbit hole. After watching that, watching more Twice videos, and then eventually I was like hooked. So went from Twice all the way. Next, I think, was Red Velvet, and then I just kept falling down the different to the different groups.
Nice. Yeah. So that story is very similar to a handful of other people. I think Luke Daniels similarly found
Mhm.
K-pop through a Twitch streamer's notification for Likey. Same Twitch streamer, I imagine. No, there's a lot of crossover, right? Which is internet culture, whether you're playing video games or watching people play video games. What's that experience been like for you, kind of blending both sides of your interest? I imagine you play video games or at least a fan of them, but kind of seeing the crossover between video game culture, internet culture, and K-pop. What's that been like?
It's been very interesting, and I believe the first crossover I saw was, well, yeah, it's a bunch of streamers had Likey as their notification. It was a mega hit in the US, And I remember also I played League of Legends a lot, so when the KDA crossover happened, I was like, "Oh, this is like meshing my two worlds together between gaming and music." So I was like, "Okay, I like this." And seeing more collaborations even with US artists, it's really nice to see that sort of the K-pop space moving its way to America, and it's almost sort of taking over.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, the popularity has grown immensely. Visibility for all artists, whether it's Blackpink, BTS, of course, the top two, but twice. I mean, selling out every freaking time that they have an announced tour. I'm losing my mind here. But I wanted to ask you about KDA. So you lived it on the side of being a League of Legends fan, and then simultaneously being a K-pop fan, but then having those worlds come together for you. How was that received for the League of Legends audience who may not have listened to K-pop, but now are exposed to it? And I mean, KDA has 2 albums. I mean, they've got Soyeon like very prominently part of the group. What was your experience seeing that population of fans grasp onto K-pop?
It was really nice because actually I'm the only person on my friend group that listens to K-pop, but KDA sort of drugged my friends in a little bit. They're not avid listeners now, but they really like the KDA stuff. So I was kind of excited. I was like, "Ooh, y'all get to just like come on, listen to this and see if if you like it. I have more recommendations for you." So that was a really cool part seeing that crossover, exposing more people to K-pop in general.
Yeah, no, it's an incredibly interesting touch point in K-pop, right? I think that was
Yeah.
around 2019 when I remember. Um, I remember KDA popping off at an anime convention. It's one of the larger conventions in California, Fanime in Northern California.
Oh.
And I just remember walking around the convention floor and every other booth, or at least every other aisle, was playing that song. Shoot, I can't remember the title anymore. Popstar? Popstar.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
And I was like, this is K-pop. What? Okay. So I asked my friends, like, is there a League of Legends thing happening right now? It's like, is there K-pop? No, it's just a really popular song. So no, I echo everything you said about like your friends being invested in it and slowly building up their fandoms. But like you mentioned friends, right? And finding a friends group to kind of bounce ideas off of, bounce your interest off of. How did you find Soju Talk? And what was that experience like listening to, a group of friends talk about K-pop and your connection with how Doug, Warren, and Anita kind of worked together, had chemistry together?
Actually, I believe my first exposure to it was, in fact, through TikTok. I saw some clips kind of go through my For You page because I have some K-pop stuff in my For You page. So I was like, okay, I'll check out the podcast. And I listened to an episode. I don't remember which one it was, but it was nice just listening to a group of friends kind of just talk K-pop. And then when they plugged the Discord server, and I was like, "Oh wait, okay." So I joined in, and I was just amazed at the size of the community and having other people to talk to about K-pop. Because like I said before, out of my small personal friend group, I'm the only person that listens to K-pop. So like, I can't discuss things with them. They don't really get it. Um, but it's nice having the Discord and the rest of the Gochu gang to sort of like have opinions, discuss things, just to have a general conversation about the music. That's what I love. So, and I think I discovered it was last year because I'm a fairly new member to this community. So, it hasn't been a year yet, but that's sort of how I found this group.
Did you discover any artists specifically in your first couple of months listening to the podcast where you're like, where have they been for my life? I need them now.
Um, a few Stacy, like when
It's going down. Thank
oh
you.
yeah.
Oh man, thank you. I am so happy. You just made my
uh
day.
Hearing them, like especially hearing like Doug and the whole crew, Doug and Nita Warren, like all the compliments for Stacy, I was like, okay, I have to listen to it. And as soon as like the first song, I was hooked. I was like, oh, I have been missing out.
That is incredible. I specifically
Yeah.
moved aside so my younglove.com album can be over my shoulder. No, I love Stacey so very much. I think because of the community, it's definitely been enhanced. I think I would have found them. No, I'll give them credit. Like I think because they talked about it in a very um, analytical way, but very comfortable way, but also giving the opportunity of exposing people to new music every week, really helped at least guide me in the direction to find Stacy. Because again, it's a confluence of events, right? It's not necessarily Stacy as the like one entity that I found. It's the fact that I was consistently listening to brand new K-pop, and I think I'm just happier for it. They are definitely a top group for me. So how would you describe yourself online? I think you were kind of alluding to it and you were like, Discord, I'm on Discord because I play video games. I guess how would you describe or separate your Discord life with your personal life and then your IRL life and just who you are as a person? Or are they all generally the same?
um well, a sort of, yeah, so I do play video games. I'm actually also very into the Dungeons and Dragons community. I love that stuff. Critical Role, which is a sort of a media company that puts on a show of Dungeons and Dragons, which I love. So I'm part of a few Discord groups, but I know I'm not very active on here. I mean, during the day, I'm actually a school teacher, so when I can, I vote when I can, especially on this Discord, because I've had it happen where like they put the votes up, but by the time I'm done with my day, it's too late. I'm like, I missed the vote. But uh, I try to incorporate being in the community throughout my entire day. So I do have my work life, but after that, excuse me, this, I mean, especially Soju Talk, the Discord group, the community, I try to incorporate that as my time in the afternoon to sort of like relax. I play video games. I have the Discord pulled up, join in conversations if I want to. Uh, and typically I'll just sort of jam out to K-pop even as I'm relaxing. Just have a playlist going and just let it run.
Okay, I have to ask, what do you teach and how long have you been a teacher?
I'm actually I'm in my first year. I'm teaching reading and English and reading and writing to fourth grade teacher. So fairly new.
Congratulations on your first year, by
Thank
the
you.
way. I have a million questions. Just to
Okay.
set it up, I was in education for a very long time.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if I've told Soju Talk specifically. I know I've told the number of individuals and just people on the server who know me fairly well. So I was in a number of education environments. So I started
Mhm.
off in special education, specifically
Okay.
a behavior trainer, working under a BCBA. A lot of acronyms, a lot of letters, just roll with it, audience. But I worked with special education, students with autism and special needs and developmental disorders, and then I moved into a special education classroom as an aide, and then I was a full time teacher for a few years. I had since left education, but I'm always curious of other people's journeys. I'm still friends with a number of teachers, so it's still definitely ingrained into who I am as part of my own life. How did you decide on education? And you know, how did you start on education? How did you land on reading and writing as your primary focus for your first year?
Um, well, actually, when I first got into university, actually in my current degree, I'm actually in music education. So even when I started off my education journey, I mean, I had an excellent experience in music throughout middle and high school. So I wanted to be able to teach music. That was my passion. So it still is. But which is interesting because I feel like definitely getting into K-pop enhanced that because it was a new form of music, similar to and different from American pop music, which I love to just analyze. But after I graduated, I ended up moving to a new state, and I technically got my first start as a history teacher at the beginning of the year, but then I got offered this position at an, I guess, a newer school, and so I took it, and they needed someone right away, so I jumped on, and and I love reading and writing. I love that creativity aspect, and but then the school's also letting me sort of giving me sort of a music club type thing for next year, so I'm pretty excited for that. So that's how my education journey is currently going, but eventually hoping to get I can get into a band classroom and definitely bring some K-pop influence.
That would be incredible. Please update us on the progress on your journey. No, well, I don't know if you know this, but we're slowly trying to form the Soju Talk band, whatever form that takes, whether that's a boy band, girl band, mixed, like card. We've got a couple main dancers. We're still looking for a main vocal, but it kind of sounds like you might be a producer, a very Soyeon type role. This is blowing my mind, man.
I'd love it.
Yeah, no, that's incredible that you have such a musical background. And I think it definitely informs the way you experience K-pop and experience music in general, and kind of seeing the borrowing of different genres into K-pop. I mean, like you said, there are similarities with Western music, but at the same time, there's just so many other aspects and elements of music. I mean, when you said music teacher, of course the stereotype is to think classical music, but then at the same time, it's not really a bad stereotype because Red Velvet is killing it with Feel My Rhythm. It's just
right.
It's amazing. And I'm sure we're not, I swear this wasn't supposed to be a Red Velvet episode, but I need to ask you now, how do you feel like they incorporated the classical music in that song? I forget exactly what they sampled. But the way that they did it, more as a backbone, like a structure to the song, as opposed to being an overarching in your face version. How do you feel like Red Velvet kind of accomplished that?
They did it very tastefully because I was shocked to hear it too. And in the intro, I was like, "Oh wow!" Because I'm hearing all this orchestral instruments, and I love the fact they didn't necessarily bury it behind like any sort of pop beat or pop instrumental. They kept it. It was in the background, but in the fact that they still use that structure of, I believe it was a Bach piece, and they use that to create the song, and I loved it. I was like, it's not buried. I can still hear it throughout the whole tune. Oh, I was so thrilled. I was like, yes, my worlds are colliding.
Incredible analysis. My brain is going in a million directions now, to want to plan things to have you talk about, but we have a group to talk about today. All right, so we're gonna put a pin in that. FangdBard, incredible story. I also didn't get a chance to ask you about Critical Role. I am a big fan as well. We'll talk about D&D perhaps another time, but we're gonna skip ahead a little bit and get into the music of the week. So we've got Dreamcatcher returning, making their comeback with Maison. Dreamcatcher, they are part of the Dreamcatcher company, I think is what the label is. Dreamcatcher label. Amazing that the label essentially just said, you guys are so popular, we're just gonna, you're the face.
Right.
Admittedly, I'm very tertiary to Dreamcatcher in the sense that I know their title tracks, I know the vibe and the sound, very electric guitar, rock inspiration, anime inspiration, if you want to go that far. But what are your overall how what are your overall views, initial thoughts of Dreamcatcher and Mason?
Um, well, my first sort of exposure to Dreamcatcher was, I believe it was Odd Eye, and I remember because I also love rock and metal. So this group, Dreamcatcher, incorporates that style into their music. So I was like, this is pretty cool. Another two parts of my world colliding. This is interesting. So that was sort of my intro into Dreamcatcher, and then I kept continuing to listen to their music, and I was pretty hyped for this track. So Mason was, I believe, was a really good track. It still has that rock core, and even the music video, very nice. I thought the sort of like even everything that was going on in the background did not take away from each member. So I thoroughly enjoyed the song. And I guess if I had to say, every member was fantastic. I particularly loved Dami's rap in this one. I thought that, to me, that was the highlight because she knocked it out the park.
Yeah, that's one of my main notes is Dami's rap after the first chorus, and that was when I realized I understand why she's very popular now.
Yes.
I'm like, I always see this girl being mentioned on the internets. They all love her. You know, this is my bad for not being exposed sooner or more exposed. And yeah, that rap alone kind of set the table for me as far as where I should be thinking about Dami. To kind of go back into the music video, so there is a big science fiction story being told. The entire music video, I believe, is shot on a green screen. It looks like it is, so definitely. Unless, you know, there is a dystopian future actual set for them to be doing all of those stunts in, then perhaps. But I think with some groups, it can be a little overbearing that it's so CGI focused, it's so CGI heavy. It might be a little jarring if it's a new concept for other groups. For Dreamcatcher, this is them. This is what they do. So for me, it fit right in with my preconceived idea of what they are as a group. Musically, it pairs really well. I think you know, they do a lot of variations on the electric guitar rock sound. I can describe, for me, I describe this as like future punk, right? Where there's a punk, right?
Agreed.
A little bit future punk, cyberpunk, and then there's just a lot of science fiction iconography, whether it's the dystopian landscapes, the highways, the Greek like sky pillars situation, and then portals everywhere, and like computer rooms. Well, you know, if you being a larger fan than I am, how does Dreamcatcher have lore, first of all, and does this music video play into lore, or is this its own thing?
I'm not too familiar if they do have lore. It might not as deep, I feel like, as other groups, like maybe Luna or other sort of groups that, or even Espa, that dive deep into that lore. If anything, I feel like it's more subtle. Now, I do believe, especially, every concept is sort of nearly connected, because their past albums, I mean, they have dystopia, apocalypse, so we're in a theme here. So it could all be connected. That would be pretty cool if every single album was telling a story, which there's potential. So I think if anything, it's more of a subtle lore drop. but I think it's quite the possibility
Do
for
you
there to be, maybe they're in this realm of dystopia and nightmares.
Yeah, yeah. So what is your interpretation kind of the story of this music video specifically? So independent of any other connections to previous releases, how do you see the connected portals that each member is seemingly jumping through to the next member's world? Are they representative of anything?
Um, I believe that, yeah, each member sort of has their section in this world, and even I believe some of the lyrics of the song is like, they need someone to come save them. So like they're jumping through, possibly trying to help each other out, and especially in the music video, it's an apocalypse. It's complete destruction. Things are ripping apart, and I feel like it could be jumping back to the previous albums where they were talking about nightmares and maybe a dystopia. So maybe this is all sort of a dream, this nightmare. They're dreaming about this dystopia and an apocalypse is happening. So that's sort of my thinking process to piece it together.
No, it's an excellent thinking process. I mean, you're the creative writer here, so I want your brain to go into as many directions as you'd like to make it go for Dreamcatcher. I didn't mention this. I was going to, but then Tommy distracted me. Sua and orange hair. Thank you. I appreciate this.
Yes.
I again, like, I am not a very big Dreamcatcher fan, but as soon as I saw her, I was like, I think that is my favorite person from this group. Although I will say, Jiu did kind of like pull my attention first. I mean, she is the leader and she gets the opening shot. Very angelic,
Yes.
great vocals. But when the orange hair comes through and she's got her Doctor Strange orb fireball in her hand, it's like, okay, we're doing this. I'm here
Right.
for it. Yeah, no, Dreamcatcher is just such an interesting group. They are so non-conventional. Unconventional is the word. And yet they do so many characteristically K-pop things. What did you think about the choreography kind of incorporated in that first chorus? You don't really see it in the rest of the music video, but I imagine that is a very central part of their stage. Dreamcatcher is known for this sound, but they incorporate choreo quite frequently in all of their stages. How did that hit you, kind of seeing that used in the environment?
Um, I enjoyed the choreo. I thought it was pretty solid. I mean, nothing too weird. I mean, I feel like it even sort of fit the theme, because like they're like using the finger gun type movements, like, so they're in an apocalypse, they're fighting things. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and especially in the music video, you only see that in the beginning, and then it's more or less individualized between the members and the backup dancers. So I still need to watch some of their stages, since they've been promoting it, but I think it definitely good choice. Whoever organized it had a very good choice of moves to incorporate the theme.
Yeah, yeah. They seem to have choreographed a lot of the actions to lyrics, right?
Yeah.
Lyrics and even cadence, tempo, and just how like enunciation works very differently in Korean, where you can kind of see like the way it's paced out throughout the choreography. So yeah, shout out to them, because I think a group like this could very easily just not do choreo, right? They could just be a band, stand in front of some instruments. But no, they are a full on K-pop girl group who does everything. Their sound just happens to be very different from everyone else, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts you have on this music video, the group, favorite member perhaps?
Um, definitely. I love how they keep with this theme and this sound. They haven't like tried to cater into the typical sound or a different sort of sound, because I know sometimes you do something too different and it's not received well. things kind of backfire. So I mean, hey, they're using this type. They found their sound. They're sticking with it, and they're successful. So I'm glad to see that. I guess um the my I guess favorite member is probably Yuhyun, because I think the first clip I've seen, because I know she's one of the members that can speak English, and then I remember I heard her and I was like, oh wow, okay, that's pretty cool. She's pretty bilingual, so I was like, oh, that's cool, and she has an incredible voice. So I've listened to some of her solo stuff, and it's pretty killer. But my favorite song on the album is "Beautiful," and it's Dami solo. Now, I believe it's my favorite because it actually does have a punk pop feel to it. Like the right in the beginning, it actually sort of reminds me of Green Day. Funny enough, but she kills it. I loved it.
Amazing. Yeah. No, the album is, I think it's like half are group songs and then seven solos. If I heard that
Yes.
correctly, right?
Right.
Yeah, no, I think that is just one, very bold. I don't think most groups do that. I think
No.
the most recent example I can remember is Twice, and having, I mean, half the album with group songs and then three songs being unit songs. You know, very cool. But with this, with individual solos, it's kind of a nice way to showcase each member without them specifically having like a solo promotion, right? I think if you're a
Right.
Dreamcatcher fan, then you get a solo song from your favorite member as part of the package. I wanted to ask you just on storytelling.
Mhm.
You know, again, like Dreamcatcher does have like this very mysterious story thread throughout their music. How did the album kind of tell a story throughout this dystopian science fiction world that they set up with the music video? Was there a clear thread? And did each of the members, their solos, enhance that in any way?
Um, album definitely does tell a story, because I mean so the first track is just an intro, and it's titled "Save Us," and then track two is called "Locked Inside a Door," which which is a pretty good track, and then it leads into the title track "Maison," which I feel like it sort of sets up this idea that they're trapped in this dystopia and they need someone to kind of pull them out. And then the next tracks is Starlight, then Together, then Always. So even the titles, the theme is sort of fitting together. And then they have this last one, which is called The Seven Doors. So I feel like this,
Great title, great title.
right? So the whole time I'm like listening to the song, I'm like, oh, what's the name of this one? I'm like, oh, okay, we're following a story, and then it goes into each member solo. So my guess is that each, maybe the solo track is sort of like a reflection of their area in this dystopia, and they're trying to like get pulled out to be, I guess, together again.
Excellent, excellent interpretation. Yeah, God, there's just so much to dig into with Dreamcatcher. I think that's the reason why for me I'm a little intimidated to get into them. To be honest, I love the concept. I love everything about them being so different. But yeah, man, just the way you talk about it, it's like I need to spend time with this group. Is what I'm saying. All right, so we got kind of a bonus question for you for
Okay.
Dreamcatcher. All right, so we got seven members. Typically, this is a little bit larger than a campaign party, but if you had to assign different roles, classes, races to each member, who would they be in
Oh
this
man.
campaign that
Okay.
you're dungeon mastering?
Oh man. Okay. So definitely, I'm gonna go with Oh, this is so hard. I say that G- GU. So first of all, she's the leader. I would have her be, let's say this elven bard. She has this incredible voice, this very melodic voice. So and elves are very charismatic. So I feel like she would be that would definitely help her, especially as the leader. Um
I like it. I like it. I can visualize everything. Also considering the music video and how she's just very like all in all white a lot of times. So yes, no,
yeah.
that fits perfectly.
Um
Who do you got next? You
oh,
have Sua. Is Sua next on in line?
let's see. Yes. Sua, let's see what kind of vibes. Let's go with a sort of hmm
I'll throw something out there out and then
okay.
see if you'll cling on to it, and maybe this will be a starting point, like a rogue, something
Yeah.
mischievous.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. All
Yeah,
right. I see it.
yeah. Race, I'm not so sure. Maybe a tiefling.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Chief from there. Yeah.
Tiefling rogue. All right. Let's go to Cian. What do we think about her?
And
I have one.
okay, what you got?
Priestess.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, definitely so cleric for sure.
Yeah.
Cleric maybe a hmm trying to think race wise.
Race can get a little. There's a lot of them, so I can understand if you're just like running through your Rolodex of like, oh my god. Um,
Right.
we'll stick to classes then, just for now, just because I think
Okay.
I didn't realize myself until I'm going through it in my head right now. It's like, oh, there's a lot. So we have a cleric for Cian.
Okay.
Undung.
Um Handong, she could be potentially a I'm thinking ranger.
Ooh, that's a zag. That's a zag. Okay, I like it. Oh, that's
Yeah.
good. That's okay. That's real good. Okay. Uh, Yuhyun, your favorite member.
um let's go with a we're, we're gonna go sorcerer on this one.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yes.
All right. All right. We like it. Dami. I think I have one, but I want to see if we align here.
Oh, okay.
I'll just say she dabbles in the dark arts, where she requires
Okay.
sacrifice. A warlock.
Yeah, I was about to say warlock. That's fitting. She
I,
gives off that dark vibe.
100%. I'm just like, oh my god, I'm so afraid. But at the
Yes.
same time, you are amazing. All right. I don't know the final member. Gahyun.
Gahyun, let's go. This might be a little out there. Let's go with druid. Why not?
Hey, all right. Actually, I can see this. Actually, it's not too much of a zag. Not as much as you think. I think definitely in the right, like visual concept and styling. She kind of fits it. She does have a very forest nature vibe about her. I
Yeah.
can see it. I'm just looking at one of her photos right now. Where it's like, okay, she's very connected with nature. No, that was excellent, amazing. Thank you for playing the game. You are a fantastic. You are a scholar and a gentleman, sir. Yeah, no, we just assigned classes to all the Dreamcatcher members. If you all want to play Dungeons and Dragons with Dreamcatcher, I think you should let them know on the internet, because the internet's a thing, and people are on Twitch playing Dungeons and Dragons all the time. All right. Gosh, I have so many more questions for you, but I think we got to start to all right, let's move into closing thoughts, and then we'll just loop it all in here, right? Okay. So, closing thoughts, IRL stuff in life. Well, first question is, do you have a running campaign with friends, either online or in person, that you play regularly? Perhaps a number of them. And second, or not secondly, but in addition to, what has been your longest campaign?
Yes, I'm actually in a few campaigns. I play in a few, and I'm about to start DMing one. One campaign I'm actually in, it's more of a gothic horror style, and I actually play a bounty hunter, gunslinger. It's pretty nice. It's pretty interesting. Um, Another campaign I'm currently playing a a lot of characters start to crisscross in my head. I have so many of them. I'm playing a sort of a wizard professor in this very ragtag group of adventurers somehow I got myself into. And
Nice.
my current one I'm about to run is I'm about to run the Call of the Netherdeep module from Critical Role that was just released. I'm about to dive into that story. The longest running campaign, we've been paused for like a little over a year right now, and I joined in late, but this game has been running for like probably 4 to 5 years. Yeah, and I jumped in pretty late, and we're all like level 16 now, so it's late game stuff. It's getting pretty heavy.
Incredible. So a couple follow-ups. How have you adjusted through the pandemic to play virtually? Has it primarily been Discord? I know that there's a platform to play on. Shout out to Shinboy Matt. He hosted a Dungeons and Dragons campaign for a couple of people on the server for a bit. It fizzled out just because people got busy, schedules didn't align. But we did use, I can't remember the platform anymore, but we use the software to play with the game board. But yeah, how has your experience been playing online over the past 2 years?
It's been very. It's work. The transition was good. We all got swapped to Discord. We have our own server that we hop in voice channels. And we used for a while Roll20, which is sort of a website where you can actually set up your maps, your battle maps, whatever, and to have actual visuals. Other times, some or depending on how much prep time the DMs had, we've just done theater of the mind, just sort of imagined it and ran with descriptions as best as we could.
It's like an OG way of doing it. With
Right.
Gosh, I was not around for those OG days, but my cousin has been playing D&D since he was, I want to say, like 15, 16. He is now in his mid 30s. I think he's almost 40, to be honest. So he has told me many stories of just like how it used to be with like the paper graph sheets and all of that. I don't know the details. I do see them on Stranger Things occasionally, but no, that's well. Let me ask you a kind of a developmental question about Dungeons and Dragons. Do you feel like there is a development of creativity playing role-playing games that you've experienced personally and kind of with your friends? And how has that element of your personality, your mindset, the way you think about the world helped you in the real world, in other aspects of your life?
I definitely did see a rise of creativity, especially because between me and my friends, my D&D group, I mean, we spitball ideas constantly. We always think about new characters, and sometimes I get an itch to just I'll create like 5 characters. I just get ideas, brainstorms, and with the new technology like D&D Beyond, I
Hmm.
use to make digital character sheets now. So I when I first played it, yeah, I was given the paper one and I was like, what is all of this? I am very confused. But D&D Beyond makes it easier with all everything being digital, but I love just like sharing story ideas with my friends and character ideas for future campaigns. So in or shifting that into my IRL life, I would love that's sort of how I got into loving to teach reading and writing also because it's all about making sure the students are getting creative. So I love storytelling. I love world building. So I love bringing that aspect into my teaching.
If there was one book or piece of literature that right now is not part of the curriculum that you would love to incorporate, that you feel like is an essential piece for just a developing mind to develop creativity, what is that book?
Um hmm, was actually definitely a big fan of the Divergent series. Divergent, Insurgent, and
Hmm. I was gonna say Resurgent, but I don't think that's
Resurgent maybe,
okay.
but I remember when I first read that series, that whole world building aspect, all the creativity behind that, I was thrilled. I was enthralled. I was hooked. Similar to what Hunger Games was. So I definitely recommend if you're into that sort of fantasy style, definitely check out Divergent. I mean, Hunger Games is good too. I feel like most people have seen or read it. Divergent seems a little bit more, I don't know, underground. I don't know if many people have read it, but such a good piece of literature.
I have one that I'm going to selfishly ask you. I read this before the movie was ever announced. I'm going to be a hipster about it. There I die. I read Ready Player One like a number of years ago, and I was like,
Oh,
this is everything. It captures so much of the science fiction and fantasy elements of what happened in my brain growing up, right? Just the virtual world, using all of the different properties and characters that that you just were exposed to, whether it was Gundams or I mean, in the movie, they had a bunch of characters that weren't in the book, but I'm fine, whatever. Like that's the ones that they could get licensed for. In the book, I know they had a number of like Star Wars and Star Trek vehicles and ships, all amazing. And I would love for children to read that because I think at the very end of the story, there is that moment where the main character meets his best friend and finds out that his best friend is a girl, and the girl is very shy. She thinks like, oh, like, uh, she would do anything for him, but this is the first time they're seeing each other for who they are. But they share a moment where it's awkward at first, and then they realize like, no, you're the same person that that means so much to me. It doesn't matter, and I felt like that was such a beautiful moment to kind of represent. Um, we are all more than kind of the expectations or categories that the world puts us in. And it's really about the quality of the person on the inside, and how you are to other people, how you treat other people. That matters. I When I read that, I kid you not, I was crying for like 5 minutes. I put the book down and just like, yeah, this is good. This is good stuff, man. So just with that, I feel like books are just this powerful vessel for us not to just understand ourselves, but to understand where we reside within the rest of the world, right? In storytelling. Um, FangdBard, amazing conversation. One last question. You are a
okay.
teacher. You are on a school schedule.
Yep.
I'm going to tread lightly and say that I understand that summertime isn't just a vacation time. I mean, you have teacher training, you have to come back early. So I understand the schedule, but because you have a little bit of more of extended like time that you can plan out every year, do you have any vacation plans this year in 2022?
Nothing too extensive. I'm probably just going to get more involved in my local comic book store because they run D&D events, they run gaming events, so I definitely gonna go hang around there quite a bit, sort of get involved. Uh, no real travel plans, but so between that and probably getting diving more, I'll have more time to run campaigns for D&D, so that'll be on the list.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, everyone go support your local shops, whether it's a gaming store, comic book store, or just any hobby interest store, because
Yes.
world's opening up again. There are going to be a number of events. You know, the stores that are still around, they're around, honestly, by sheer luck in a lot of ways. So they would love to see your faces, even if you're just there to pop in, because I think it means a lot to a lot of people that, you know, we can do stuff like this again. But yeah, that is all, sir. FangdBard, incredible conversation. Really, really appreciate all that you had to share. I learned so much. I did not expect to talk about like nerdy things and the nerd world that we both reside in. So thank you. Really appreciate it.
Yes, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love just gushing about nerdom and different things. I had so much fun.
Yes, absolutely. And yes, you are making a big difference, shaping the minds of the youth and the children and the people who are going to be making decisions in the next 20, 30 years. So, you know, keep it up. You have my support. And I'm sure you have everyone else's support on the server now that they know a little bit more about you and great and your incredible, great story. So thank you again.
Yes, thank you for having me on. I'll definitely try to be more active around on the server, get some even jump into conversations, or maybe even start some. So
100%.
see.
Yeah, no worries, man. All right, let's sign out. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Soju Sessions on the Soju Talk Nation podcast feed. Subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and continue the conversation on the Soju Talk Kpop podcast Discord. For FangdBard, I'm Crispy, and this has been the Soju Sessions.